¿Qué volumen de palabras se pueden llegar a transmitir? Poniendo
Putting consciousness
en la tremenda importancia que
in the
tiene
tremendous
el
importance
silencio.
of silence.
Me estoy centrando exactamente en el espacio
I'm
que hay
centering
entre
myself
cada palabra.
exactly in the space
que
in
digo.
between each word.
Lo que
Not
digo
what
es
I say.
totalmente
What I say
trascendente.
is completely transcendental.
Las palabras son
Words
creadoras
are
de la
creators of
ilusión.
illusion. They're only a
Son un
symbol.
símbolo nada más. Las palabras nunca pueden
Words
hablar
can never
de lo que es
speak of
real.
what is real.
Pero
But
lo que
what's
está
in
entre
between
cada
each word,
palabra, incluso ahora mismo,
even
lo
right now
puedes
you can
escuchar.
hear it.
Y es una de las cosas más
And it's one of the most
complejas
complex and complicated things to hear.
escuchar el silencio.
Silence. It's
Es
connecting
conectar
with
con la
nothing.
nada.
It's opening
Es
ourselves up
abrirnos a lo que
to
está
what's
más allá del
further
lenguaje.
beyond language.
Es darnos
It's
cuenta
realizing
que a través
that
del
through
lenguaje se
language,
está creando
a
una
condition is
condición
being created
para que lo
for
que te llegue
what comes to you
sea divino.
is divine.
El lenguaje
Language
pertenece a lo humano.
pertains to the human world.
El silencio
Silence
pertenece a lo
pertains to the divine.
Y cuando te
And when you
pones
put
frente a
yourself
alguien,
in front of somebody,
el que sea,
doesn't matter who,
y
but
te
you
abres a
open
escuchar,
yourself up to listen,
se puede activar
in your
en tu
unconscious,
inconsciente
something can be activated.
la posibilidad de rechazar,
The
que es el tema
possibility
que queremos
of
plantear
rejecting.
hoy en muy pocos minutos.
And that's the theme that we're going to talk about today in just a few minutes.
Puedes rechazar el lenguaje,
You can reject language.
puedes rechazar las palabras que estás escuchando,
You can reject the words that
puedes
you're
rechazar
hearing.
los significados que vamos a atribuir a las palabras que estamos diciendo.
You can reject the significance that we're going to attribute to the words that we're using. And if you activate rejection,
Se van a
naturally,
producir varios efectos.
various effects will naturally be produced.
Todas las personas
Every person
que en este momento
that in
de
this
su vida
moment of their lives
están
are
ante una
before a
situación,
situation,
una
a
persona
person
que
that they
rechaza,
reject,
están ante una tremenda oportunidad de
they're in
sanación.
front of a tremendous opportunity to heal.
Y si ahora vamos a
And if
abordar
we're
el
now
tema
going to approach
de
the theme
trascender
of
la
transcending
posibilidad del
the
rechazo,
possibility of rejection,
lo primero que
the
puede
first that could
ocurrirte
occur
es que entres
is
en rechazo.
that you start
Puede ser hacia
rejecting.
mí,
You
puede
might
ser
reject
hacia lo que
me,
digo,
what I'm
o
saying,
puede ser al significado de todo
or
lo que
maybe
yo
the
puedo decir.
significance, the meaning of everything that I'm
A
saying.
mí me da igual que
For
tú me
me,
rechaces.
it doesn't matter
En
if you
realidad,
reject
tu
me.
rechazo no va a modificar
Your
mi
rejection
vida,
will not modify my life,
por la sencilla razón
for the simple
que
reason
tu
that your
rechazo
rejection
no lo
I
percibo
don't
como
perceive
rechazo,
as rejection.
lo percibo como
I
una
perceive it
oportunidad.
as an
Entonces,
opportunity.
tu rechazo no me
Your
toca,
rejection doesn't touch me.
es una decisión mía.
That's what I do. I spin it around.
Porque si me engancho
Because if I get stuck with a
con el
rejection
rechazo
that
que
comes
viene de
from
afuera,
outside,
estoy abriendo la posibilidad interna
then
de
I am
rechazar
rejecting the
todo lo que viene de
possibility
afuera.
of receiving everything that comes from outside.
Al
Rejecting,
rechazar, tomas
by rejecting, you drink a
letal
venomous
para
poison
tu vida.
for your life.
Veneno es todo
Poison
lo
is the
contrario
opposite of
a
medicine.
medicina. Y estamos utilizando en la escuela
And we're
consciente
using
este
in
diseño
Consciousness School
para
this
introducir
design
palabras,
to introduce
significados,
words,
y que
meanings,
se convierta esto en un portal que te traiga información para
so
tu
that
vida.
this converts itself into a portal to bring you
Ahí hay
information
una
for your
palabra
life.
que es sí,
There's one word,
otra es
which is
aceptación,
yes.
hay una palabra
Another
no
is
y hay una palabra
acceptance.
rechazo.
Another
La
one is
palabra
no
no
and
y
rejection.
rechazo son los dos
No and
componentes
rejection are
del
two
veneno.
components of poison.
La palabra
The
sí
words
y
yes
aceptación
and acceptance
son los dos componentes de
are
la
the two
medicina.
components of medicine.
Y una de las cosas que es necesario
And one of the
comprender,
things that's necessary to comprehend
todo veneno
is that all poison
tiene los componentes para crear
has
la
all the
medicina.
components to create medicine.
El
The
antídoto
antidote
del veneno de cualquier
of
serpiente
the venom of any
es
serpent
extraído del propio
is
veneno.
taken from the same venom.
Entonces,
So, yes,
si le dices
if
no
you
al
say
no,
no to no,
se potencia el veneno.
the poison gets
Si rechazas el
stronger.
rechazo, se potencia el veneno.
If you reject rejection, the poison gets stronger.
Lo que estamos enseñando a través de
What
nuestro
we're
método
teaching
es
through
la
our
posibilidad de
method
decirle
is the
sí
possibility of saying yes, yes
no,
to the no,
sí
yes
al rechazo.
to rejection.
Y en ese
And in
acto
that act,
empezamos a
we
elaborar
start
la
to
medicina
elaborate the medicine
a partir del veneno.
from the poison.
Todo lo que estás viviendo en relación al rechazo
Everything
a
that
tu
you're
madre
experiencing in relation to
es
rejecting
un
your
proceso de
mother,
sanación.
it's a process of healing.
Y cuando nos
And when we
abrimos de
open
corazón
ourselves
a
to
respetar
respect
lo que el aquí y ahora nos
what the
trae,
here and
necesito
now
rechazar
brings,
a mi
I
madre,
need to reject my mother.
necesito rechazar
I
a
need
mis
to reject my children.
Si te entregas de
If you
corazón a
surrender
eso,
your heart to that,
estás creando
you're
las
creating the
condiciones
conditions
para que de forma
so that in a
natural
natural
te
way,
llegue la aceptación.
acceptance will come.
Si fuerzas
If
la
you
aceptación
force
ahora porque
acceptance
te la
now
impones,
because they impose it
esa
on you,
aceptación es
that
falsa,
acceptance is
no
false.
es
It's
auténtica.
not authentic.
Y vas a sufrir
And you will
toda la
suffer your
vida,
whole
porque
life
detrás de una
because
aceptación
behind
falsa
a
te sigue
false
siempre un
acceptance
rechazo genuino
is a genuine
detrás
rejection.
de un
But behind
rechazo
an
auténtico
authentic rejection
en el
in the
aquí y
here
ahora.
and now,
Si es
if it's an
auténtico el
authentic
rechazo,
rejection,
lo que te va a llegar es una auténtica
what's going to come
aceptación
is an
cuando tenga que
authentic
llegar.
acceptance when it needs to come.
Entonces estamos ante la posibilidad
So
de
we're
comprender
before the possibility
una de las grandes
of
claves de la
understanding
sanación,
one of the great keys to
que
healing.
uno de los grandes motivos que
Because one
tenemos
of the
para
great
sufrir
motives we have for
los seres
suffering,
humanos
we as humans,
es la opción
it's
habilitada en
the
el consciente,
option
en el
of
inconsciente, de
having
rechazar.
the option
Esa opción está
active
activa.
to reject.
Rechazar
Reject what?
al hombre,
The man, the
la mujer,
woman, that
a
they
que te
abandon
abandonen,
you,
a
that
que te
people mistreat
maltraten.
you.
Cada uno de nosotros tenemos un registro en el inconsciente que hay un listado de cosas.
Each one of us has a register of things that we reject. And
detrás
behind every
de cada
rejection
rechazo se esconde,
hides
primero, la
first
desgracia del sufrimiento que produce
the
tomar el veneno del
disgrace of
rechazo.
suffering that drinking the venom of
En segundo
rejection
lugar,
gives. In the second place,
se cierra completamente
the
las
possibilities
que tiene
of
el
the
futuro
future
si estuviera libre.
close
El futuro no está libre
if only you were free.
porque rechazas.
The future is not free because you reject.
Si tienes
If you have
algo que
something to
rechazar,
reject,
el futuro no
the
se abre
future
en
does
toda
not
la dimensión
open
que tiene
in
para
all
darte
its
posibilidades
dimensions to
desconocidas.
give you unknown possibilities.
Digamos que
Let's say
el
that
destino
destiny
está dependiendo de la sanación
depends
del rechazo.
on the healing of rejection. to support a mother who rejects her children is crazy-making. But it is the crazy-making that cures. Supporting the rejection, it's part of the healing process. And we can support with trust rejection, because rejection is an illusion. It's a lie. You can support everything that's a lie because it'll never have the opportunity of converting itself into a truth. The acceptance. Acceptance doesn't need to be supported because it just is. Your being doesn't need to be supported. Your divinity doesn't need to be supported. But if you reject your humanity and you deny yourself the no, then that is like a twin death. If you deny yourself to reject something, then you stay trapped in the human aspect and you can't get to the divine. Rejecting the past, what happened to me, my boss, rejecting my spouse, rejecting that they treated me poorly, rejecting my parents. Those are components of this amazing medicine that can heal the most profound aspects of our soul. If you look on the whiteboard, the no, that is denial, and yes, is unconditionality. It's a predisposition to everything. Acceptance has to do with receiving, and rejection has to do with negating, taking away from you. This is not for me. Out. Acceptance is to let things in. Rejection is to take things out. They're energies that are tremendously powerful, and you can understand them by the two words that are in the center of this triangle. They're in the axis of how this triangle functions. There's a word above and there's a word below. The word above, it's related with a no and with rejection. And the word on the bottom is associated with yes and acceptance. And even though one is related with a negative and another with a positive, they're two parts of the same essence. We're saying there that there we have the mix, the configuration of a medicine. Your ego is prepared to reject for all of your life. That word is inadmissible. And it is the word that represents no and rejection. That no, never. I completely reject the possibility of surrender. That is the word that unites all of the power of no and of rejection. Casually, a person who is in power, and that they're on top of a donkey, they manage rejection and the no. If you can handle the no and the rejection, nobody can come up against you. That is the maximum expression of the I, of the ego. What word has more power than no? We could say that rejection is psychological, it's internal. The I is the action, and it comes out. That's why every time they say no to you, they're rejecting you. The charge of the word no is the energy of rejection. The charge of the word yes is acceptance. Surrender means I am available for everything. Surrender means I don't need to say yes or no. I don't need to say anything. I don't need to accept or reject. Because when you surrender, you go further from all polarity. You go beyond it. Surrender is transcendence. You exit the macabre game of the yes and the no. If something comes to your life and you enter into the dichotomy of yes or no, do I accept it or do I reject it? You've gotten yourself into a mess. You need healing. Because maybe if you accept it, you might accept it in a forced way. But if you reject, you might feel guilt. So it's a twin. It's like a double-edged sword. And generally, all of the people that say, no, I have already worked on the rejection of my mother, I now accept her, they're on one edge of that sword. I used to reject my past, now I accept it. And their mouth is full, saying, oh, I'm full of healing. But acceptance is not healing. Healing is transcendence. It's transcendence. It goes beyond acceptance and rejection. There's nothing to reject, and there's nothing to accept. So, if that's true, what are we talking about? If there's nothing that I need to say yes or no to, what am I talking about? What am I talking about? The word that's underneath the triangle that begins with a C is confianza, which means trust. It's a new significance of trust. And what we dedicate ourselves to is to give new significance to words. What does it mean to trust? Don't get into the game of accepting or rejecting. What reaction do you have when something faces you? How do you define acceptance or rejection? When you're in that point, when you don't enter the game, how can you define that? You can define it in three ways. The first is a total disconnection with the past. So, with the word trust, there's a new triangle, and each one of those words is another triangle, which we convert into a star, and it's very complex, but we're not going to touch it right now. So the first, disconnection totally with the past. You completely disconfigure yourself. You don't have the references from all of your life. Because what are those references? All of those times that you've said no, and all of the times that you've rejected. That's the biography of a mind. How many no's and how many rejections have you had in your life? That's the mind, that's your suffering, that's your power. In the second place, naturally, if you disconnect with the past, the future becomes free. It is freed.
todas las posibilidades
all the possibilities
que estaban
that were
escondidas
hidden
y que no podías
and
ver,
that you couldn't
de
see,
lo que la vida te puede
of what
traer,
life could bring you,
de repente se abren de par
all
en
of a
par,
sudden they open
porque te has desconectado de un pasado,
because you disconnected from a past,
de una biografía
of a
llena
biography
de no's
full of no's
y de
and
rechazos.
rejections. In that
En
moment,
ese momento
it
se abre de
opens
par en par
one by one,
un
step
nuevo
by
futuro.
step, a new future.
Lo que me va a
What's going to
llegar
come
es más grande que
is
yo.
bigger than me.
Dijimos al principio
We said
la
at the
energía
beginning that it was
arquetípica de Juan el
the
Bautista
archetypal energy of John the Baptist.
y su
And
mensaje
his
era
message was,
no
no,
soy yo,
it's not me.
es el que viene detrás
It's
de
the
mí.
one that's
Eso
coming
está en el
behind me.
Evangelio.
That is in the Gospel
La
of
gente
John.
decía, ¿eres tú? No,
People would say to John, is it you? And he would say, no,
Estoy
no, don't
anunciando
get
que viene
confused. I'm just
alguien más
announcing
grande que yo.
that someone is
Es
coming
Jesús.
that's much bigger than me, and that's
Está
Jesus.
anunciando la llegada del Mesías. Está
It's
anunciando la
announcing
llegada
the
de una
coming of
energía
something
muy
very
poderosa.
powerful. What it does is
Y lo que
prepare
hace es
you. It
prepararte.
tells the mind
Es decirle a la mente,
what's going to
¿qué
come.
cuento?
You
va a
better
llegar,
just
tú
you
no
better
puedes con
go off
eso.
to the
Es mejor
side
que te
because
hagas
you
a un
can't
lado.
handle what's about to come. Just
Hazte un
go
lado.
off to the side
Porque lo que viene es
because
más
what's
grande que
coming
tú.
is bigger than you,
Y no te
and
conviene entrar
it's
en la
really
lucha.
not good for you to be there.
No te conviene
Don't resist,
resistirte.
don't
No
fight,
te conviene decir que
don't
no.
say
No te conviene
no, don't
rechazar.
reject.
Porque eso que llega
Because
es
that thing that's
devastador.
coming is
Viene a poner
devastating.
punto final
It
con tu
comes
pasado y viene a
with a
abrir las
period
puertas
for
de
your
tu futuro de par
for
en
your
par.
past, and it opens the doors to your future.
Y
And the
tercer
third
punto
point
de este
in this
triángulo,
triangle,
que es el triángulo de la
that is
confianza,
the triangle of trust,
corte con el pasado, se libera el futuro,
there's the
renace
rebirth
el
of the
auténtico
authentic
de tu alma.
destiny of your soul.
El sinsentido en el cual vivimos
The
las
no
personas
meaning in which we humans live. It's spiritual
espiritual, porque se nos ha anulado
because our authentic destiny has been annulled.
digamos, el auténtico propósito
The
por el cual
authentic
hemos
purpose
venido a
for
la
which
vida
we came to the world has
ha sido
been
sustituido
substituted
por
by
motivos burdos,
false motives,
falsos,
spurious motives.
La realización del ser pasa por el florecimiento
The
de la
realization passes through the flowering of
pasa por el
divinity,
hecho de que
that you
pueda
can
salir al
go
exterior el
outside,
auténtico aroma de tu
that,
ser y que otros
that the authentic aroma of yourself
lo puedan disfrutar.
can be emitted and that other people can enjoy it.
Y hasta que eso no
And
suceda
until that
en el
happens in a
ser
human being,
está
that person is
confinado
confined
en lo que quería
in
ser.
what he or she wants to be.
Lo que nos está
What's coming
llegando
to a
muchos de
lot of us
nosotros,
here?
lo puedo
I'll,
decir en primera
I'll say it in the
persona,
first
lo que me
person.
está
What's
llegando a
coming to
mí
me?
es mucho más
It's
grande que
much
yo,
bigger than me,
divinamente,
divinely
más
much
grande
bigger
que yo,
than me,
preciosamente
beautifully
me supera, con
bigger
creces.
than me.
Yo
I
no lo puedo
can't
sostener,
sustain it
porque mi yo no tiene la
because
estructura para
myself,
sostenerlo
it
divino.
doesn't have the
Mi yo no
structure
tiene la
to
estructura
sustain
para
that.
poder sostener la
The
sorpresa, el
divine, the
asombro
surprise,
de aquello que
the
yo ni me había
wonder,
imaginado que me podía llegar en la vida.
can't
Ahí lo
believe that
tienes.
that'll arrive to my life.
Y de
But then
repente te llega, te
it
golpea
hits
la
you, it
puerta
knocks on your door, and you don't
y
have
no
the
tienes
option.
opción.
You can't
No hay
escape.
escapatoria. Es la más divina
It's
encerrona
the most
a la que nos
divine
meter
medicine that you could met yourself in,
el
you could
encuentro
let yourself get into,
con un nuevo
meeting your new destiny.
que en realidad
That in
no
reality
era antiguo,
it's very ancient,
pero había sido
but
olvidado.
it had been annulled.
La aceptación
To accept
de lo que no está en tus
what
planes
wasn't in your plans. You are opening
abre
yourself up
al
to your
destino
true destiny.
que no podías ver. Si te
If you
abres
open yourself up
a aceptar
to accept
lo que no estaba en
what
tus
wasn't
planes.
in your plans.
Te estás abriendo
You are opening yourself
a
up
tu verdadero
to
destino.
your true destiny.
¿Y qué
And,
es lo que no estaba en tus planes?
and what is that was not in
Lo
your
que no estaba en mis
plans,
planes.
that wasn't in my plans?
Dejar de rechazar.
To stop rejecting.
Si te metes en tu
If you get
inconsciente,
into
lo más
your
profundo, te vas a
unconscious, in the
encontrar con
most
este comando.
unconscious, the
Está
deepest
escrito
part
en
of your
el
unconscious,
fondo.
you're going to
Es la
find
carta ganadora que la
this
tienes guardada en la
in
manga.
your subconscious. It's like the winning card of the lottery.
En el momento necesario, la saco y gano
If
cualquier
I
partida.
take
Pero
out this
como
card,
digo,
it's like the
es
Joker.
rechazo.
It's
Eso no está
rejection.
en los planes
That is not there.
de ninguna
It's
índole.
not in any ego.
Rendición significa entregar la carta ganadora
Surrender
que tienes
means
para ganar cualquier partida.
put
Por
down
eso que
the
cuando
winning
te
card.
rindes, ya no tienes posibilidad de
Because when you surrender, you have no possibility of winning. You've surrendered.
Y cuando ya no tienes posibilidad
And
de
when you
ganar
have
desde el
no
yo,
possibility
que se
of
empodera
winning
del no
from
y del
the
rechazo,
I
resulta
that
ser
wants
que
to
lo
win,
ganas todo.
at that point, you can win it all.
Pero es un ganar que no proviene de la
But it's a
acción,
winning
que
that
no
doesn't come
proviene de
from
una estrategia.
action or strategy.
No es un ganar que
It's
proviene
not
de
a
la
winning that comes
especulación.
from speculating.
Es una entrega que te da el todo,
It's a vulnerability and
sencillamente
a surrender that gives you everything,
porque te lo mereces.
simply because you deserve it.
Es el renacimiento
That rebirth,
de la pureza,
that is the rebirth of purity,
de la
of
inocencia
innocence,
y de la dignidad.
and of divinity.